You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Tommy Tuberville, Tommy Tuberville was elected, and this is, we were expecting that. It's not a big surprise that Tommy Tuberville was elected. It was kind of a surprise how big the gap was. That was a surprise to me. I'm sure it was a surprise to a lot of people listening. Even, like Dale Jackson was thinking that it was going to be something like, 57 to 43, and it ended up being 60-40. But we are looking at Tuberville has released his transition team, and it is crazy. There is every single member of Tommy Tuberville's transition team is either a politician or a boss. A politician or a boss. There is not a single normal, working, everyday Alabamian in his transition team. Not a single person that can relate to the normal, to the issues that are facing working people in Alabama. Not a single person that has to work under a boss. Not a single person. We've got Stan McDonald. He was Tommy Tuberville's campaign chairperson. Trip Skipper with the Skipper Group. He's a president or whatever of the Skipper Group. Terry Harbin, market president for Bancorp South, a bank. John Ferguson, a city commissioner, a politician. Duane Walker, CEO of HI.ED. Jeff Brooks, CEO of High Point Holdings. Steve Raby, directs communications. R.J. Rhodes, retired businessman. Chester McKinney, owner of McVantage. John Wall, vice chairman of the Alabama Republican Party. Everybody is a CEO or a politician.
What did you expect? What did you expect?
Yeah, no,
Come on, Jacob.
Now, here's why I'm saying that. You cannot count on Tommy Tuberville to save you. Tommy Tuberville is not going to be fighting for working people in Alabama. Tommy Tuberville is going to be fighting for CEOs and politicians, and so you need to save yourself. Tommy Tuberville is not going to save you. You have to save yourself. So join a union. You can't count on politicians to make your life better. Even if Doug Jones had somehow had a miracle and won, his transition team probably would have been pretty similar. It would have been CEOs and politicians, and I bet if I looked back, it would be mostly CEOs and politicians. And that's why we're not pushing, we didn't push Doug Jones super hard.
The biggest difference between what you're going to see with Jones, or what we saw with Jones, and what you're going to see with Tuberville is Jones had enough integrity to put a labor liaison on his team to interface with people in the community, especially organized labor leaders that had issues in the state. He had somebody there pushing for workers' issues. I'll be surprised if Tuberville has that.
Right. Yeah, that's a good, at least with Doug Jones, workers had an in. Workers had somebody that would listen to them. But, man, with Tommy Tuberville, he's not going to let you in the door. He's not going to let you in the door, folks. So don't count on it. And that's why, and, even if Doug Jones had won, you shouldn't be counting on Doug Jones. You shouldn't be counting on politicians to save you. When you join a union, and we're going to be talking about this with a bunch of folks, we're going to be talking about this with folks here today that are in the labor movement, that are in unions, that don't have to count on politicians for their wages and working conditions, about how good it is to be insulated from the results of every single election to a certain extent. Yeah. The people that are in unions, especially in the private sector, they are not reliant on a politician to make their life better. They have power themselves, and they come together and they make their lives better themselves. They count on their brothers and sisters on the job. They're not counting on whoever wins the election in November.
Yeah, exactly. And folks, we are going to be struggling today because we can't hear. We, generally speaking, in the studio, I can give Jacob cues and let him know when we're coming up on 1 minute, 30 seconds and things like that. We have no one giving us cues today. So if it runs into a break and we get cut off, we apologize in advance. But yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. As bad as Tuberville is, the one good thing we have to celebrate is we're going to get a new National Labor Relations Board.
Yes.
And I am so happy to I said yesterday, I'm a one-issue voter when it comes to presidents, and that is getting people on the National Labor Relations Board that actually look out for workers, unlike what we've got right now, what we've had with basically union-busted lawyers. Right. And corporate lawyers being appointed to the National Labor Relations Board, those that are supposed to be looking out for us. That's sickening.
Yeah, and we talked about that, and we've got an interview up on our YouTube page with Paul Prescott. If you want to go back and you didn't hear that interview when it went live, and you want to know what we were talking about, we spent about half an hour with Paul Prescott. He is the political liaison for the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers. He really dug down into detail about how the Trump administration's National Labor Relations Board is going at workers. Yeah. They're trying to bust unions. They're making it easier for bosses to meddle in union elections. They are censoring speech. They are against freedom of speech for workers. And we get really into detail in that interview. That's on our YouTube page. So go check that out if you don't know what we're talking about. But Biden looks like he has won, and so he's not going to put people like that on the National Labor Relations Board. He's at least going to put people on the National Labor Relations Board that are going to give workers a fair shot. Yeah. That's all that we can ask for, is to be given a fair shot instead of having people on the labor board try to destroy us.
Yeah. Well, and back that up and say not by saying he's not. What we hope that he isn't. Right, but, like we were talking about earlier in the week on the Labor Network pod, just because Biden gets elected don't mean we quit fighting for labor issues. There's no, like you said at the beginning of the show, there's nothing that they're going to do to help us, including Doug Jones. We don't just stop because a politician got elected. We fight day in, day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. That's exactly right. We were on, so the Labor Radio Podcast Network had some election coverage earlier this week, and we were on it. We were a couple of the people that were there talking to them, and one of the things that I said was that with respect to Trump or Biden, we were picking an enemy. We were picking somebody to fight. Biden's going to be the easier person to fight. So stay tuned, folks. This is the Valley Labor Report. We will be right back, and we're going to be talking to some union workers after this break. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week and get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist. That's spelled RADICL Unionist. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we also clip segments throughout the week. And we also upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So you can see if we're on your listening platform of choice. You can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. And if you appreciate our work and want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.